got the PR15 out, treating and painting the Centerlink, I went ahead and cleaned a small section of the frame so I can do a little bit more of it. This is the cross member behind the rear bumper, and I'm not going to bother messing with that, but the other trunk braces, I'll do that trunk brace. It's actually doesn't look like much, but I've already scrubbed it and metal prepped it with the muriatic acid, and then I'll go right up here to where I left off when I did the rear end and I did the section of frame, and I lightly sanded where the coats of paint will overlap each other. Hit most of this, the easy to get to stuff, with a 2-inch abrasive disc, and just stopped when I saw shiny metal, and I didn't get it all, but I got all the scaly stuff off. So I'll treat this with the metal prep, wash it down and treat it with a metal prep, and just keep plugging away on sections of frame. Right, so here's that cross member behind the bumper right here. This is the back side of it. There's a little valance pan. This valance pan has some heavy rust damage and some holes in it, as you can see. So that's going to have to be fixed before I do anything with this surface here. So going under here, there's one of the trunk supports, 2 of the trunk supports, and this center support, which is not really a trunk support. I believe it ties this valance pan right here to the side-to-side cross member that supports the back of the trunk, and that'll have to be replaced. And here's the other trunk brace, the other 2 trunk braces, and right in here is where I ended the PR15 when I did the rear end, when I did that section of frame involved with the rear end, and I sanded it so I could overlap this new paint onto the existing PR15. But that's the way that came out. And so the rest of the trunk, this is where the gas tanks normally goes, and there's some damaged areas, a little bit of damaged areas. There's a few pinholes in it that need to be addressed as well. And so I'm not going to do anything with this surface right now, if I can get focused here. I just wanted to show a little more progress on the frame. The trunk floor will be for another day. Before I put the pitman arm on, I went ahead and washed the steering gearbox, what I could get to. I washed it with solvent, I wire brushed it, I washed it with detergent, and I etched it. Didn't need to etch it as far as the surface goes, but I wanted to keep it from rusting, and you can see it's already turning yellowish from the zinc in the metal prep. And of course I could only wash and treat what I could get to, but it's easier to do now on the bottom side with the pitman arm down, and I'll do the top side when I take the motor out. So here's the shaft coming out of the steering box, and as you can see, it's a spline shaft, of course, with your ridge, valley, and then every quarter of the way around you've got a double valley. That acts like a keyway. So there's 4 positions that the pitman arm could go on, and to find the right position, you get in the car, turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, then counting the turns as you turn it all the way to the right, you divide that by 2 and turn it back to the left that many turns, and then the pitman arm will still have 4 positions it could go on, but 3 of them will be obviously wrong, and you want to put it in a position where it's facing the front of the car. Okay, now this will torque down to between 125 and 150 foot-pounds. Alright, so I'm going to tighten the idler bracket into the bushing until it locks, back it out a half a turn, continue in the same direction so that it's positioned correctly to mount to the frame, and that's the starting point to mount the idler arm. Just going to snug them down until I check the height of the Centerlink on both sides, on both ends. Okay, so I made this 3.5 inch gauge. Right here's 3.5. I'm going to lay this surface up on the Centerlink, and I'm right on top of the Centerlink, and I'm going to reference to a point on the frame that I know is also on the passenger side, and it misses hitting the weld right here by about 1/4 of an inch. So now I'll go over to the passenger side and do the same thing, and you can see that the gauge is missing this weld again by about 1/4 of an inch right here. I don't know if you can see that real good, but so that tells me that the idler arm side and the pitman arm side of the top of the Centerlink are the same distance from this point on the frame, and this point on the frame is symmetrical to the other side. I can also measure up to that point because I'm on flat ground, and I measure 21 and about 1/8 to this point right here. Then I can measure up to the bottom of the Centerlink, and I'm 16 and 1/4. So if you subtract 16 and 1/4 from 21 and 1/8, I've got 4 and 7/8. Okay, measuring as vertically as I can on the driver's side, I've got 20 and 7/8, and to the bottom of the Centerlink I've got 16 inches. So the difference there is 4 and 7/8. So that's what I need to see. Okay, so now I can go ahead and torque these bolts down to 35 foot-pounds. And initially, when you put the tie rod ends back in the adjustment sleeve and the sleeve onto the tie rod, just make sure you got about the same amount of thread showing so that you get the full amount of adjustability in the adjustment sleeve. And after I get it installed into the steering arm, I'll go ahead and adjust it and put it back into the position that it was in when I took it out of the car, which was about 3/8 of an inch of thread showing on the driver's side. and try to force the boot down over the edge of the tie rod in a little bit. Force it down a little bit, that way it won't wrinkle up on you. So that's 50 pounds, and then I'll see where the cotter pin is. Only need to rotate it a little more. And the bolts on the adjustment sleeve torque down to 25 foot-pounds. Alright, so about one of the last things I have to do on my front suspension is put the rubber bumpers back, and on right below the upper control arm in the frame, right here where my finger's at, there's a hole, and I believe that this is the type of bumper that goes in there. The one that was there originally was completely crushed and couldn't tell what shape it was, but this piece right here pops through the hole that's in the frame up here. And this is I actually ordered this for 58 to 70 full-size Chevy passenger cars, and it fits several others from the 60s. So being GMC, I'm thinking that this is probably pretty close to original. So I have to let the car down and put the weight on the tires to raise the control arm to pop this rubber bumper in. So that's one thing I've got left. And then the other one, the lower one, goes in that hole right there. And this is the one that came out of it. And it's not in really bad shape. I might try to clean it up. See, it's got a little bit of dry rot on it, but I think I'm going to clean it up and use it. The reason being, when I ordered new ones, they sent me these, which are a heck of a lot smaller. So I think I'm going to put the originals back in until I can research it a little more. Maybe see if I can find a brand new set of these. So after I put the bumpers on it, that's about it for the front end. I will probably let the car down, put the weight on it, and I'll probably check, re-torque everything to make sure everything's torqued and that I didn't miss anything. And that's going to be it for this video for now.